November the 11th is Remembrance Day, symbolized by the poppy, commemorating members of the armed forces who have made the ultimate sacrifice for their country during World War I. The reason it's commemorated on the 11th day of the 11th month is because it was on the 11th of November 1918 that the war ended. Welcome to Kaleidoscope with me, Savithri Rodrigo, where positive, daring, different. A massive thank you to the wonderful partners on our show, Srilanka Live CDB, Park Street Gourmet and The Daily Morning. Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn, and if you like our show, subscribe and follow us for updates.
CDB Hybrid Leasing. Enjoy exclusive interest rate and much more for hybrids, plug-in hybrids and EV vehicles.
Here's a quick look at the week that was on CDB Snapshot. Budget 2024 is out. The President's presentation addressed key areas of concern, but more on this later. Sri Lanka and Sweden engage in bilateral policy consultations to find new avenues for increased cooperation. The US funds construction of a deep-sea container terminal, lending over $550 million. Thenura Laksen bags the silver medal at the World Bodybuilding and Physical Sports Championships 2023. There's a new species. Scientists create a monkey chimera using stem cells with 2 sets of DNA. A rare first-class menu from the Titanic sells for $102,000. A sex therapist is appointed New York State's first loneliness ambassador.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
Welcome to Srilanka Live News Capsule. Budget 2024, presented by the Minister of Finance, President Ranil Wickremesinghe, has been called a fairy tale by Executive Director of Verite Research, Dr. Nishan Dimel, in the context of revenue and not being grounded in reality. Going through some of the salient points in Budget 2024 is equity analyst of Cal Research, Sajani Devapura. Welcome, Sajani. What are the salient points that you observe in Budget 2024?
The overall budget for 2024 aims to improve tax collections rather than increasing tax rates. The total tax revenue for 2024 comprises 28% from income tax, 59% from taxes on goods and services, and 13% from taxes on external trade. Government aims to increase tax collection mainly from taxes on goods and services, which is expected to increase by 859 billion rupees out of a total tax increase of 1.2 trillion rupees. Then on the expenditure front, 38% of the total expenditure is allocated to interest payments, indicating a substantial debt servicing burden on the government's finances. This expenditure increase is mainly driven by rising interest costs and capex. 3 main highlights on the expenditure front. Firstly, interest spending is expected to grow by 458 billion. Secondly, salaries and wages for government employees and pension holders has been increased by 141 billion, mainly because of the increase in allowances on living cost by 10,000 rupees for public servants. And thirdly, capex. Capex has increased by 469 billion. This amount is excluding the bank recapitalization. Overall, fiscal balance for 2024 is estimated at 2.4 trillion rupees, excluding bank recapitalization of 450 billion rupees.
And do you see any surprises?
Firstly, incremental tax revenue for 2024 is 1.2 trillion, which is mainly driven by tax collections on goods and services. When it comes to taxes on goods and services, this is mainly comprising of VAT on domestic products, VAT on imports, and excise duties such as taxes on alcohol, tobacco, vehicles and petroleum, and this increment as a percentage of GDP is 2.7%. Secondly, exemption on VAT has been taken out on goods such as fuel. However, exemptions on healthcare, education and some basic essentials still prevail.
So most budgets look fine on paper but are challenged in implementation. What are the challenges that you would see in this budget's implementation?
In 2023, from the initial budget, the target was to collect 6.25% of GDP from taxes on goods and services. However, looking at the revised estimates published by the government yesterday, they have only been able to collect 5% of GDP, which is a shortfall of 1.4% of GDP. So anyway, collecting 7.6% of GDP will be challenging to the government because the heavy dependency on consumer-based taxes. A drop in consumption due to inflationary pressure or other inflationary shocks could lead to decrease in tax collections from goods and services. For example, in 2023, the highest shortfall in tax collection was from goods and services, which was 387 billion rupees out of 534 billion rupees total shortfall. The second challenge I see is the expenditure on capex. From the 2023 initial budget, government estimated to achieve 1.2 trillion on capex, but from the revised estimates, they have only been able to achieve 782 billion rupees, which is a 64% of the initial estimates. 2024 budget has a target of 1.2 trillion on capex. This amount is excluding the bank recapitalization of 450 billion. If they fail to achieve the estimated revenue targets in 2024, the only option for them to achieve the IMF targets is cutting down capex. However, without spending on capex, it will be difficult for the government to achieve growth in economy.
Let's take a peek at the market this week for stock, oil and gold prices. At the Colombo Stock Exchange, the all share price index dropped by 1.7%, with average daily turnover levels dropping below 1 billion rupees. Oil prices stabilized at $83.50 US per barrel on news that global oil markets will have a surplus next year due to a drop in demand and non-OPEC supply growth exceeding expectations. Gold prices moved closer to $2,000 US per ounce, supported by a weaker US dollar and lower bond yields after US inflation rates dropped. The value of education cannot be quantified, but it is an asset that will only appreciate. Srilanka Life added that asset to children in 2 schools in Badulla and Balangoda by constructing 2 purpose-built classrooms which will benefit 134 students. This brings the number of classrooms donated by Srilanka Life to 87. Dubai Design Week was this month. Among the highlights are the Designest, mother of pearl seats, urban shade and tea houses made from discarded food. Sri Lanka's potential as a sports tourism destination has been talked of, but little done about it, despite the country having immense potential. From cricket to rugby, to surfing to hiking, diving and adventure sports, there's a lot to work on. This year, something new is being added to the list. For the first time ever, the Lanka Powerboat Association hosts the Motosurf World Championship in Sri Lanka. Right here at Cinnamon Lakeside, and the Beira Lake will be abuzz as never before. Sri Lanka is the 54th country in the Union International Motor Nautic, which is the world governing body of motorsurf. And with the LPA having the World Championship in Sri Lanka, it is placing Sri Lanka on the map of aqua sports. Not forgetting that the association also aims to introduce powerboat racing, Formula Series to jet surf and put Sri Lanka out there as a professional international training destination. I decided to sit on the water at Cinnamon Lakeside, which is the hospitality partner for the World Motorsurf Championships, and had a quick chat with Area Vice President of Cinnamon Colombo Hotels, Kamal Munasinghe, just as he had returned from the World Luxury Awards in Greece, having won no less than 6 awards. Kamal, congratulations! 6 awards for Cinnamon Grand, plus Pata, Sata for the rest of the hotels, and you are the best general manager for Southwest Asia.
Yeah, I think very exciting.
Very exciting
Yeah,
indeed.
and of course, it's not about me, it's about the team. Without a great team, we won't be able to achieve anything. I think Colombo Cinnamon Hotels have been always in the forefront in hospitality industry, and this is proven again.
So now you're doing something new again here, the World Motorsurf Championships.
Right.
Now, motorsurf isn't a very popular sport in Sri Lanka. How are we going to change that?
The word motorsurf has not even heard in Sri Lanka, I think. But when I first heard about it from Powerboat Association of Sri Lanka, I looked into that, and there's a huge following for these motorsurf events worldwide. And I think, Sri Lankans are very, very open for sporting events. And I have no doubt that they will embrace the sports as well when they see what's happening here at the Cinnamon Lakeside.
What benefits do you see in having these championships here?
First of all, I think it's a matter of showing the world what Sri Lanka has to offer in terms of sports tourism. Sports tourism is a huge arena in the world, and I think Sri Lanka has not tapped into that segment fully. By having international events like this, I think we'll showcase the world what Sri Lanka has to offer. We have the best beaches in the world. If you look at some of our beaches have been nominated as the best surfing destinations in the world. We have great water bodies within the country. But when you look at it, we have not untapped into these areas. And by bringing in these kind of events to Sri Lanka and showcasing the world that Sri Lanka is ready and also able to host such big events is, I think, the main point that we want to achieve here.
Now look at this water body. A lot of potential right in the heart of the city. What can we do for this?
There are few things that has been planned, but also in the past, I must say that the Powerboat Association of Sri Lanka has brought in speedboat racing to Sri Lanka some time ago, which was a huge success. The rowing club is based here, and we have some other things in the store which I don't want to talk about much, but this space has to be activated because this is one of the main attractions in Colombo, but we have just neglected this space. And Sri Lanka as a destination, Colombo as a destination, I think we can offer a lot more by making use of such water bodies within the country.
So look at motorsurf. What infrastructure is needed to actually get this off the ground in a bigger way?
So if you look at water sports in general, I think there's a lot that we need to still do, but there is sufficient infrastructure at the moment to run this kind of event in Colombo here at Beira Lake. What we have to keep in mind is by developing infrastructure that we don't harm the nature, because that's the main point and the focus that we have to keep in mind. As much as we want to develop tourism and also the infrastructure to drive sports tourism and water sports tourism, preserving our nature and what Mother Lanka has to offer is the best what we can offer to the world. So we need to keep that in mind, I think.
What drew me most when I visited the Lionel Wendt Art Gallery for the Young Minds Preschool Art Exhibition was how children portray an undiluted innocence that we adults have lost. There were ladybirds and rainbows, airplanes and the ocean, families and pets, wildlife and planets, all seen through the innocence of a child's eye. As we celebrate World Children's Day on the 20th of November, it is that innocence that children see in this world that these artworks portray. Young Minds, which was begun 26 years ago by 3 enterprising friends with just 8 students, has now grown to 160 students. Each year, Young Minds supports charities that will benefit from the sale of the works, and this year they picked the Colours of Courage Trust, the Children's Heart Surgery Project, the D'Souza Maternity Hospital, Jaffna Jaipur Centre, Senehasa Children's Resource Centre in Galle, and the Indira Cancer Trust. This weekend, say a prayer for the fallen as we remember the ultimate sacrifice they've made. We'll see you next week.